All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we got something really cool, something that y'all have asked me a lot about. So I recently changed back to Garmin Livescope. I had Lowrance active target for my forward facing sonar, active target 2 that is, and I just went back to a Garmin Livescope not too long ago, and a lot of you guys have been asking about it. Y'all loved the Livescope settings video last year. So today I'm going to tell you guys why I changed back to Garmin Livescope, the little nuances I think that are good and bad about both, and I'm going to tell you guys my settings. Some are the same, some are completely revamped. So we're going to do that again, show you guys how I operate it, how I use it to its full potential, and yeah, we'll see what's going down. All right, so first thing is first, starting off, the most important thing I think for a transducer is to have the right angle. So transducer angles everything. So with the right transducer mount, you're going to be able to achieve the right angle. So I do use a Boat Logic switchblade. Come on up here and check it out, what I've been using. So I have two transducers on the front of my boat. One active target 2 transducer I kept on the front of the boat, and one Garmin Livescope. So these Boat Logic switchblade come with a stainless steel knob that I can loosen and adjust it up and down and adjust it into perspective mode. So that's super easy. I just unscrew it and it has little notches in the teeth to make it super easy. So my forward transducer, my Garmin transducer that we're talking today, I usually angle the switchblade arm down and click my transducer up 2 notches. So it's kind of angled up a little bit. It's never going to be perfectly level like this, but I always keep it down a little bit. And I do like to run my switchblade just a little loose compared to what some people might, just because I don't want to break it off if I hit a stump or something like that. It's super durable, but I would rather it break or bend than break. So kind of has a little give, but it doesn't move whenever I'm on the trolling motor. So down a little bit. That's just to keep it out of the way of my perspective transducer. All right, so the thing is, this kills me whenever I see people do this. So I'm guilty of running to the front of the boat, throwing the trolling motor in the water, but I always let it down easy. So when you pull the trolling motor, when you engage it, lower it into the water. Don't throw it into the water, but lower it into the water. That's going to ensure that your Livescope is perfect, and it's going to be able to calculate, get its bearings really easy. A lot of the times people that throw it in there and it like seesaws really bad to get started, that's usually people that are going to just throw the transducer in the water, throw the trolling motor in the water and get in a rush. You break stuff and your scope doesn't look right. It kills me every time. But today, I'm going to show you guys my settings, how to set your Garmin up. This is the new unit that I've got. It's the 9213. So this is Garmin's new 4K processor unit. Doesn't mean that the image is in 4K. I have heard a few things that are coming with Garmin, but the 4K processor, so that means it's super fast. So whenever I twitch my bait or pop it, it's almost instant as a response on the screen. So I'm gonna get a bait here. I'm gonna get a Amoeba, Berkeley Amoeba. We're gonna go down the bank. I'm gonna show you guys how good this thing is in shallow water, how I can see my splash, and just how it looks and how I set it up based on the conditions for the day. So let's get to it, and I'm gonna show you guys what I'm doing. All right, so now I'm gonna set my Garmin up for you guys, show you my settings. So I leave most of the time, it's all about ratios and it's all about, overall appearance as far as distance and depth in order to make your picture look right all the time. So I usually like to leave my depth on about 35 feet a lot of the times. That's what looks good to me. I do like the bottom in the middle of the screen. 25 feet looks good right here. We're in 8 feet of water, so keeping it really, in the middle of the screen is what I like to do. So I do mix around colors all the time. You can see we have a nice brush pile right there with a few fish in it glowing around down there in the bottom. I run my forward range, look at that fish right there. I run my forward all the way at 100 feet most of the time. That definitely seems to help out a little bit as far as when I'm spotted bass fishing. Never afraid to run it at 80 feet and compress the image a little bit if I'm fishing super shallow water or trying to make really calculated casts. There's a big one right there. You can see his tail swimming really nice on the screen. First things first, gain differentiates everywhere that I go. So I keep it in between 68 to where it's dulled down really bad. Well, not really bad, but here the water's really clean. So I'm gonna amp that up. I do find with this 92 series Garmin that I can run my gain hotter than I used to be able to on my 1243 or even the 86 series. And it's extremely fast compared to those other two units. So right now I've got it 25 foot depth, 80 feet. So I'm able to tell the size of fish relatively. It's never gonna be exactly accurate. I don't believe that you can tell exact sizes of fish really easily. But you can definitely get pretty close if you have your ratios right on depth and distance and you keep your image looking relatively the same all the time. It's all about ratios. So gain right now, 74%. That's what I like to run on the, you know, on these super clear water lakes. We're getting into a little bit of shade right now, which is good for the image. So I'm gonna keep us kind of right here in the shade. Okay, so let's go into the options. Open it up. So right here we have, all right, so I'm on forward range. I'm gonna go into sonar setup, appearance. You got color scheme. I'm on lava right now. Truth be known, I do not have a preference on this. I keep it as long as it has the black background as opposed to like, not a huge fan of the blue or the yellow. I definitely like black emerald. I like amber and I like lava. And then I do like Caribbean and rusted steel, kind of the mood that I'm in for the day. Caribbean looked really good there a second ago, but I do like the lava. That's probably the one that I use about 70% of the time at least. Go back into options, sonar setup, layout, grid overlay, hide, scroll history, hide, on-screen control, I'm gonna show that. Reverse range is a setting that I really like to use. I keep that at a minimum. If I put that on default, it's gonna kind of always change based on how deep water I am. If I'm in super deep water, it's gonna have a lot of reverse range, but I keep that at a minimum just to maximize my full screen. And then go back, noise reject, ghost reject, TVG, I keep all of those on low. I never really change it that much, especially with this 9000 series. This has been great in order to keep my settings the same all the time. Even when there was a lot of pollen on the water this spring, I was able to keep those settings. Overlay data, this is a little tidbit for y'all. That is all the stuff that you normally see in the top left corner. So depth, I have it on hide. If I turn that on, you can see the big 11.8. Man, I can read a screen. I know how deep it is. So I'm gonna hide that. I hide the water temperature because I usually have that on another unit. Unit voltage, I'm always curious about that. I have Sonar Pro's wiring harness and Powerhouse lithium, so I never have to worry about my batteries going dead, but I do show it just to be curious. My stuff usually stays around 12 to 14 or 12.8 to 14 volts. Pretty good happy medium number. Hide the speed and then time of day. Make sure I'm not late for weigh-in. Installation. So install depth. When I'm running my transducer at the angle that I showed y'all with the arm angled down, transducer clicked up, I like to keep my install depth about 2 feet. Every boat is a little bit different. Play with that in order to see your splash. That's why my at where the boat is, it's set down a little bit. You can see it's offset 2 feet down. If I put it at 4 feet, it would be all the way down here, but I do think that helps you see your splash a lot better. Lowrance, one thing I did like about the active target is I could go negative or positive, so sometimes I lose my splash on a Garmin later in the day when it heats up and the water heats up a lot. I lose the top part of the column, and on my Lowrance I could always go into the negatives, but Garmin it's always positive or zero. So once you lose your splash on a Garmin, you either have to restart your unit or do your best to recalibrate the screen. And then other things for install depth, stabilization, I never really mess with that. Install depth on 2 feet. Appearance, color gain is something that we didn't talk about. So color gain, I keep anywhere from 85 to 100%. Super clear lakes, I'll put it at 100. Right now it's on 91. I can't tell you the last time that I've touched it, and it looks really good all the way out to further distances. Color gain is going to help you keep the same picture at 10 feet that you can have at 80 to 90 feet. So you see stuff the same level of clarity, which is really nice. Color limit, keep that on 0, which is also default. I don't want to limit my colors that I see. So I'm going to show y'all kind of what I'm seeing going down the bank and show y'all kind of my image here real quick. I do have the all new Berkeley Meba rigged up and ready to go. And we're gonna hook it at 1 or 2. Right there's a fish right there. I'm gonna chuck it from my knees, 35 feet. See the splash right there? You can see that splash clear as day. Here comes a big old bass, checking it out. Look at it, buddy. That must not have been a bass. He swam the other way, snapping that thing around. All right, let's see if we can catch one. All right, so the main differences that I noticed between my Active Target 2 and my Garmin. So if I fished around here, when I say around here, I mean like Herring Lakes, Lake Lanier, Lake Chattooga, Lake Hartwell, Lake Murray, I don't mind Active Target at all. It was way better than my Garmin for hitting fish at long distances and suspended fish. I do think it was way better. Cone was really narrow. I think a couple tournaments last year, like the Pickwick tournament, I had a big advantage having my Active Target because I could hit those fish with that jerkbait at 100 feet and get them to bite a long ways away and know exactly where my bait was the whole time. I could definitely tell the difference between trash fish better on my Active Target. I could tell, you know, catfish, drum, bass. I could almost call it 100% of the time. It was super accurate. The problem with Active Target is the bottom separation. The one that everybody talks about, it's definitely not as good at seeing them on the bottom. So most of the places I go, traveling around the country, the fish are related to structure and on the bottom. Unlike they are here on Lake Chattooga or Lake Lanier, most of the fish, you know, it's really easy to see fish on forward-facing sonar when there's a group of 50 and they're 20 foot off the bottom suspended. It's really easy and you can catch them with just about anything. But for seeing fish up shallow on the bank, making precise presentations, I personally don't think you can beat Garmin Livescope. Now, I kept my Active Target on the boat with the HDS 12 Pro up here just in case I ever got on a super particular, really deep, like minnow bite, and I also keep it in what that's called their scout mode, which is honestly really good. That's what I run for the perspective mode or the landscape mode on forward facing. I don't mind the Active Target for that. I used it at Okeechobee earlier this year and it was actually really nice looking. So that's why I have both of them on there. That's why I switched. The Garmin, just, you know, for the schedule this year and for my fishing style, you know, I can still catch suspended fish with the Garmin really well. I just felt like I was a little more precise with the Active Target whenever I was fishing a brush pile, whenever I was fishing for floaters, I felt like I was more precise. But most of the time, fish are related to a singular piece of structure or they're really tight to the bottom and hard to see. And I just think Garmin just looks a lot better. And there's absolutely zero delay. I'll show y'all this with the 92,000 series, snapping this amoeba around. Whenever I move this bait, it is instant. And I do think I catch more fish because of the response time of that Garmin. I can move my bait to a T exactly when that fish is moving, and it helps me get more bites because I'm never late on the response, which is huge for catching them on forward facing. So let's see if we can't catch a few fish. I'm going to show you what my screen looks like after all those settings, and then we're going to conclude this video. All right, nice brush pile right there. I'm going to throw the amoeba out there. You can see the splash really good thanks to the install depth. That thing is sinking down there. We're going to see if one comes out of this little brush pile. Not been my primary approach to catching fish out here lately, so I'm not sure if I'll catch one or not. But, ooh, we do have a contestant. These style baits are my nemesis, but you can see right here, I'm going to snap my rod now. Now. Look at the response time on that unit. It's absolutely instant. So that helps you catch fish for sure because I'm able to move my bait according to whenever a fish is going to move it with it. And yeah, so that's a big deal for me, snapping that thing around. You can see how good that Garmin looks up shallow. Right there looks like a fish or two right there, 35 feet away. There's my bait splash at 40, twitch, twitch. Twitch, 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 pop, pop, pop. You can tell exactly when I'm snapping it. And whenever a fish gets after it, you know, it looks unbelievable. That's some pretty looking landscape up through there, if I do say so myself. I think a lot of these, we're in an area right now that doesn't have a whole lot of bass, but it was a good quiet place to film the video. Up under that pontoon up there, that's a dock up there up high. You can see it right down there on the screen. I'm going to throw my bait right next to the pontoon. There it falls. Could have made a better cast. Last cast right here. Oh, it doesn't get no closer than that. There it goes, falling down. Snapping it away from that. Not much luck on our end today, boys. But, so, pretty cool. So, pretty cool way to tell what's going on with scope. Those are my revamped scope settings for 2026. Been a little bit since we did one of those videos, so figured it was about time to do another one. And I wanted to give an explanation on why I changed back from Lowrance Active Target back to a Garmin scope like I had. So at least we tried, we put it on our boat. I hear the new Active Target 2 XL is really good from Lowrance, and you never know, I might slap that thing on here and give it a try. So, but right now, really happy with my Garmin Livescope. There's some tips for you guys to take on the water and set up your units. And yeah, that's all we got. So thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. It's been an awesome year so far. Ready to head up north and catch some big smallmouth. See y'all on the next video.